2 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. To you, wherever you are, this glorious Friday morning. Glorious in more ways than one. Glorious, and that is the first day of the month of November. Glorious is, and that is officially the end of the Atlantic hurricane season. And I say officially, guardedly, to all of our listeners, those of you in radio, that's Classic 105.5 and 105.9. Good morning to you. Or if you're on Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channel 20, and those of you that's in cable, we say good morning, and a special good morning and welcome to those of you that's on our different social media platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or our website. Good morning to you. I'm Joseph Cadore, and thanks for being part of the conversation. My guest this morning is Arthur Pierre, and he's the Deputy Coordinator of NaDMA, acting that is, of NaDMA. And this morning we'll be speaking about Grenada's Tsunami Readiness Project. Yeah, it's almost like saying, first day we finished talking about hurricanes, and those boys, Arthur, just jumped straight. What are we thinking about Christmas? We think this is going to give us a break. But the reality is, when it comes to these natural disasters, there's no break really and truly, because they come at any time. And when they come, we need to be prepared. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Cadore, and good morning, Grenada. Good morning. I'm happy to be here in GBN, just chatting a little bit about tsunami. Unfortunately, you leave one hazard and you want to talk about another one. But at the end of the day, it's all part and parcel of trying to get Grenada ready.
It's part of
and prepared.
The circle of life.
Yes, most definitely.
What it is. We would agree, Arthur, that most Grenadians, when we think about natural disasters, and notice I'm saying we, because the whole conversation is a national one. We get excited about hurricanes, because that's traditionally is what we've known. But the reality is that times have changed, and a lot has happened with climate change and these natural disasters as they come. And the reality is a conversation of tsunamis, understanding historically and geographically where we are located, it becomes a timely conversation.
It does. First and foremost, we are a Caribbean island. We are surrounded by water, and that's the first thing that we must pay attention. We are not landlocked. We are not on a continent. We are surrounded by water. Secondly, we are on one of those ridges, volcanic ridges. Grenada has active volcanoes. In fact, we have one of the largest marine volcanoes in the volcano of Kikamjini that can affect us and can affect our neighbors if there were to be, God forbid, a massive explosion. Okay, we have other continents on either side of us, on the Atlantic side, on the Caribbean Sea side, and they are sitting on tectonic plates. They are sitting on plates that actually move regularly. Okay, and because of that, we are susceptible, to the issue of the hazard of a tsunami. Okay, so understanding all of that, the IOC, the Australian government and UNESCO have come together and funded a Tsunami Ready project for Grenada. We have this, I think, started sometime in 2021. Right. We would have had Carriacou and Petite Martinique and St. Patrick's going through the whole gamut of training and everything to be considered tsunami ready. So Carriacou and St. Patrick's, Carriacou and Petite Martinique and St. Patrick's, they have done this already, and they are considered tsunami ready.
And
this is St. George's time.
Let me just ask you, because for the purpose of keeping people informed, this project, it is not a generic one. It is specific now.
It is specific.
To Grenada.
So
we'll be providing the information that we need to know.
Yes. There are other countries that are going through the same thing. Other Caribbean countries and other countries across the globe, across the region. that are going through the same, exercise in terms of becoming tsunami ready.
Right.
Grenada is one of those countries.
So our information has to be provided here as to regarding what do we do, where do we go. This is Grenada's information.
Yes.
So just for that reason, you, the general public, we need to be keep our ears peeled to make sure we stay on top of it.
We have had some consultations, although I am not too happy with the format of the consultation. No, I think one of the reasons is that persons are not accustomed to hearing anything about tsunami. Right. Our region, we have not been affected by a tsunami. I think one of the things that we were affected by was some storm surges some years ago.
A couple years ago.
That really dealt a blow on the western side. Okay? Destroyed roads and all of that. We have bounced back. We see roads and everything. So we don't have the experience of tsunami. Hence, it is now critical, very, very important that we pay attention and we know exactly what to do.
We're keeping our eyes on the clock. 8 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. We seem to have some technical issues that we do not want to exacerbate and cause us to have to take a break, but we don't need to. So we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back right here on To The Point on a Friday.
Tourism is me. Tourism is you. Tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Grenada Duty Free and GBN, we are partnering for this Christmas season. Folks, it's going to be a bumper one. We can actually start feeling the energy, the vibe we start building, the promotions that start coming in, and the fragrances, the chocolate. We have up to 15%, 20%, 40%. It's going to be a crazy one. We are looking forward to seeing you. We are ready to treat you guys special. We are ready to give back to you after this whole year of, being with us and everything and the support. So with our partnership with GBN, it's going to be a bumper season. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbards, Flow, Duty Free Caribbean, and I'm Supportings.
Thank you and welcome back, and apologies for that break. And just as how we opted to be proactive and stop Arthur to address our issues when it comes to the whole issue of preservation of life, being in the know, as Grenadians, we need to be proactive.
We must be proactive. Proactive. Just the way that we have been proactive during our hurricane season, we get all our tin stuff, we get everything, we put our stuff in bags and all of that. Now the season is over. We still have to think disaster management. We still have to think that we are susceptible to hazards. Okay?
Right.
And we have to at all times be on guard and be prepared.
So let's first start what we're going to get specifically, but of course we want to be able to educate people. So by definition, what is a tsunami?
All right. Now, we have heard about tsunamis, and a lot of times people would sometimes refer to it as tidal waves. All right. A tsunami is really a movement of a body of water. That particular body of water was caused by something on the ocean floor. Right? Be it an earthquake, be it a fault that would have displaced that water. Now, as that water moves towards land, there is a buildup of energy, and that water wave becomes higher and taller. And when it connects with land, it creates a lot of problems. All right, I'm just saying that, not giving a formal definition, but just an explanation as to exactly what can one cause a tsunami and what it can do. All right?
Is there any warning?
Right. Now, tsunamis are considered fast or quick onset hazards. Mm-hmm. Just like how, for example, you may have a hurricane, it gives you some time. Tsunamis don't give you that length of time. So you will go through some various steps in terms of, but these are quick. They're much faster. It's not like a hurricane that you get a couple of days. You may just get a couple of hours.
Right.
All right. So there is a watch, there is a warning, and there's that imminent what is referred to as, let me just get it. That imminent thing that it would happen, that imminent warning that it would happen.
But
so for example, we have in our own way of being able to get information. So let's say the Pacific Oceanic organizations and so, they would send messages to the Met Office. Okay. Right. Our Met Office would then send the message to all and sundry. Those NaDMA, of course, would get that message, and then we begin to broadcast. This may happen maybe about 5 hours after an event. Okay. Right. So you may have a wave, let's say, crossing the Atlantic. And it would take maybe based on the speed of the tsunami. Sometimes the tsunami can go 500 miles per hour. So based on the speed, we can calculate. Look, we have 5 hours, we have 6 hours. All right, and warnings now, watches, because we are saying that. The watch is basically that there might be, you need to begin to prepare, there might be an impact of waves coming our way. When we are sure, then it goes into a warning that you need to prepare yourself to move to higher ground, to prepare yourself to safeguard life, to safeguard property, etc. You move to higher ground and all of that. So that's basically what it is.
While we are the queen, I did ask you about the warning. Hurricanes, days in advance.
Yes.
Days in advance.
Yes.
That is going to happen.
Yes.
We talked about, of course, the movements in the ocean and notification. But prior to, what happens prior to the actual movement of the water? There would be a conversation that relates to the earthquake itself.
That's right. So what we would get as a report is that there's an earthquake. A marine earthquake, and it may cause a tsunami.
So I think it would be prudent that we keep our airspeed. That once you get earthquake,
definitely that there might be the potential. There's a potential that there will be a tsunami. We have had earthquakes and we have had warnings, and sometimes even after the earthquake, we have had there might be a potential for a tsunami. So we need to pay attention.
Indeed. I remember a couple of years ago, I think the worst we've had was a couple of years ago, and I remember I was convinced, totally convinced that day, that was it, Arthur.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It was just sudden.
Yeah.
But unlike the earthquake, which is just sudden.
It's a sudden. The
tsunami, on the other
hand, is a little bit slower. But it is. We still consider it as a quick onset hazard.
Quick onset. Okay.
Right? Now, one of the things that you would notice about a tsunami is the receding of the sea. We had tsunamis in Indonesia and in Japan. And that was one of those, a lot of lives were lost, a lot of property was lost. And it happened, I think it was around December, I can't remember exactly what year. And one of the things, for example, in Indonesia, that where we had a lot of tourists and so, persons were almost mesmerized and almost hypnotized by how the sea was just receding.
Right.
And then, you're seeing fish and everything, and people became excited. So they go out and pick up fish and all that. When you see the sea receding, you need to go the other direction. You need to run the other direction. One of the things that would save lives is that you get to higher ground as fast and as quick as possible. Now, in the Grenadian context, and I would ask the persons master control to put up a picture that we have, and this is all part of the Tsunami Ready project, where we would set up billboards so persons can know, one, the inundation of water, and two, where you have to go in terms of a muster point. And I would explain all of that later on. So we have it up now. So this is St. George's, and this is what the experts are saying. If we do have a tsunami, that yellow picture around the rim of St. George's, that is where we could expect water to go. Now, we have to understand that, for example, in St. George's, we have a lot of assets.
Right.
All right. We have national assets.
But before we even get to the assets, though, for the purpose of the people that's on radio,
okay,
if we can possibly create landmarks so they know, okay,
right,
it's St. George's,
okay,
these are the actual areas.
All right. So first and foremost, the tsunami would first affect low-lying areas.
Right.
All right. Low-lying areas. So let's just take that area from the National Stadium. So National Stadium is a low-lying area. It's right on the sea. So we can expect that the water would go right all into that National Stadium. We have River Road. That's a water course. Right. So you can expect water to run up all the way up to that river course, maybe as far as, I know, how they call it, Tempe area there. All right.
Tempe.
Well, that roundabout,
right,
all of the water, you can expect water to go up there. We are fortunate in that we have a lot of hills.
Yes.
All right. So when persons have to evacuate, they have hills that they could run to. If you come across further to the town area, you have the bus terminus. You have all those businesses on that side there. You have the financial complex. You have the entire part of the Carnage. You have the whole of Tantine. All right, all the way up to Old Trafford. Those are the areas that we can expect water to go up.
Okay, great.
All right, so that's just a verbal visual, so to speak. So while we have that map, we also would have identified evacuation routes, so that persons would know that these are the routes that you can quickly get to and get to a muster point. And a muster point is an area where everybody would gather.
Okay.
All right? So that you can begin now to account for persons. We have done drills, for example, with schools. We have done drills with Wesley College, for example. And they had to run up that hill. How do they call that hill again? Up to the area that housing scheme area, right. So they run up that hill and we muster there. We gather there. We assemble there, and now the teachers could say, okay, are there any students missing? Are there any staff missing? Parents would know that they can come and collect the children at that muster point. The same thing for businesses. All right, we have not had that exercise, for example, for businesses in town, but you'd want to account for your staff. You want to make sure that persons, relatives know exactly where they need to go. That is why it is so very important when we put up that map that people begin to study it. So when we would have signs posted, all right, so that persons would know. Now, sometimes in an emergency, people get a little bit flustered. Correct. And they don't know where to run. So instead of running, for example, along a beach side, you would want to run directly up the hill, the shortest possible route that will carry you up to higher ground. All right, you don't want to run laterally across that beach or whatever, because you're wasting energy and you're wasting time. You want to use the shortest route.
So let's do a practical, because the map is on screen again.
Right.
So here am I. We're at the GBN at Observatory Road. We've highlighted the fact that the stadium area and all of that would be in question.
Right.
Here am I. What would be our So the GBN's Nawasa.
Right. So GBN, and so we are on high ground.
Right.
You are on high ground. Okay. Right now the building is on high ground. You can expect persons wanting to run up to this site.
Okay.
Right. Because it's higher ground. Let's take, for example, if you have to evacuate the National Stadium. Let's say, God forbid, that we have an event in the National Stadium.
And not just the National Stadium. We think it because we don't want people to focus too much on the stadium.
Right.
We're saying that any area that is within an immediate...
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
So we don't want stadium go right across Carnage, Tantine Terrace, Food Land in the library.
You need to look to the hills. You need to run to the hills. You need to run to higher ground. And you want to do that in the shortest possible route. We have identified routes that people can run. There are other routes and other options that you can take, but we want to be able to give people some guidance guidance as to where to go to, quickly, so that lives can be saved.
Okay. We're keeping our eyes on the clock. It is 22 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. In case you were just joining me, my guest this morning is Arthur Pierre, and he is the acting deputy coordinator of NaDMA. And we are speaking this morning about Grenada's Tsunami Readiness Project. How much do we know? What do you know? What action should or should not be taken when it comes to a tsunami? And you would agree with me, Arthur, that one of the actions that should not be taken, as with other natural disasters, trying to take information from non-reliable sources.
Yes. As part of the response, if you do have a tsunami, you will get bulletins. All right. You can expect. First and foremost, if we get a message that we might be impacted by a tsunami, you will get a breaking transmission for all media houses, okay, and they would begin to let you know that we are expecting to be affected by waves. So persons need to be aware, and so that we go into a watch. Then we would go into a warning if we are sure that we are going to be affected.
Right.
And when that warning comes, we have to move. We have to move almost immediately, if not sooner. All right. Persons would have to, go to. You may hear police blaring sirens. You would get, and this is how we organize our response. You would get message blast on your telephone telling you to get to higher ground as quick as possible. Schools, businesses, all of these organizations and institutions, and so they, especially if they are within the inundation area, they are expected to evacuate and move to higher ground.
And you would agree that it's the onus is on, well, NaDMA, Met Office, and so will lead the overall conversation.
Yes.
But the onus is on family members, business owners
to make that move. The onus is on every individual to make that move. All right. If, for example, you are in a preschool, because we have exercise preschool, the teachers know that, hello, you hear the sound, you hear the siren, you got the message. You need to gather people and move. You can't check on, let me pack my bag, this, that, or the other. What you need to do is to move and move quickly, move in an organized way to get to higher ground.
And
one of the things too, that when persons are evacuating, you need to, if you have, for example, medication, all right, you need to try to maybe get that things that is able to save your life, that you have to use to save your life. You need to be able to gather that quickly and move to higher ground.
Would you agree that it would be significant that when it comes to hurricanes, we normally encourage persons to have a family plan?
Have a family plan.
Would you agree that family plan should extend not just to hurricanes, now that we're out of the official hurricane season, but it should be a plan that extends to all
hazards. All hazards. You must, I would say, every household must have a grab and go bag. You want your passport, your land papers, your insurance, your license, your birth certificate in one place. You can even organize a first aid kit, medication in one place. You're not talking about food and water as yet, because that can come after. But you want to be able to have a grab and go bag, things that you consider very important to you, and it is very important for your livelihood. You need to put that in a bag, have that bag packed all the time. So when if anything was to happen, that is your grab and go bag.
And livelihood as in the context of hours after?
Yes. Days after. Years after. So your passport, for example, your identification card, your birth certificate, your insurance, your land papers, these are all things that talks about your livelihood. So you need to have that together so that in case of an event, you grab that and you go.
I like the idea of the grab and go. All you bachelors, you ever had a grab and go bag when you were the batchy? Atadona. We all had one.
Well, let me tell you something. The grab and go bag was in my back pocket.
27 minutes gone past the hour. We'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back as we talk tsunami readiness.
Batiste from GBN News. Season's greetings, everyone. Wishing you the very best for the holiday season. Spend time with each other, be good to each other, and celebrate each other. Looking ahead to 2025, my wish is for love, joy, and peace to reign in your life. Go forth, do more, and be more. You are loved.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
Welcome back to the program. 29 minutes gone past the hour in the morning time. My guest this morning, Arthur Pierre, and he's the acting deputy coordinator of NaDMA. And we're here today, Arthur, and we're talking, and it's actually coincidental. I mean, probably it's more divine, because when the booking was made, I did the booking, didn't even realize today being the first, which means it's your official, the hurricane season is officially
over,
and the operating word is officially. Because we've had occasions in the past where we get these natural disasters. But we add into that conversation and we talk about the need to be tsunami ready.
Yes.
And we're saying that it's not something that we can guess. Yes, where to get warning, people must be in the know.
Yes, we must be in the know. And just to put the whole Tsunami Ready project into context, we are focusing on the St. George's, first and foremost, from northwest St. George to Point Saline. We are focusing on, having that part of our island tsunami ready, right? And it encompasses a lot of work. Some of it had to be put on hold during the passage of Hurricane Beryl and the aftermath. So we are still working, trying to get all the paperwork and everything in so that we can be considered tsunami ready. One of the things that I just want to highlight is the vulnerability and how important the issue of evacuation and preparedness is. We have, and I would ask Master Control to put up the picture of the Grand Anse area. Right? When we look at our Grandlands Beach, beautiful beach, but we have a lot of hotels along that beach. We have a lot of residents. We have a lot of businesses. And what you can see on your screen, what persons may not be able to see, but you would highlight that entire Grandlands Beach area, that Montrouge area, it's low-lying lands. Again, thankfully, we have hills that can give us some sort of rescue in the case of a tsunami. So that Grandlands area, a lot of our hotels, a lot of our industry, tourism industry, is basically placed along that region. And if we do have a tsunami, you can expect, if that tsunami is really bad, you can expect that all of those areas will be grossly affected. All right, so we are encouraging persons to pay attention. Now, if you look on the map, there are some red dots and there are some arrows. These are our evacuation routes. These are our escape routes, so that you can go to higher ground. And then those red portions that you see with the red, so almost like a red cross, those would be your muster points. It is very important that we establish muster points, right, to be able to account for people. All right, to give advice, to let people know what they need to do after if we are impacted. Those muster points become critical. I also want to make mention here that our district committees, all right, they are the ones that would give persons assistance. Now, for example, we may have persons that are bedridden. A lot of our elderly people, even some of our younger people who might be paraplegic, they can move without the assistance of somebody else. Those persons are persons that we have to pay attention to. Our district coordinators and our district committee members should know where these persons live. So in case we get a warning, we know definitely that we can maybe get the help of the community, get men who we know are busmen, and so to be able to assist in moving these persons to higher ground, it becomes very, very important.
So let me ask you though, and then I guess the question I would seek to, how then would we know these individuals? What is there a plan in place that would seek to account and have a working knowledge of our communities, who's where, so that we can execute.
Right. Now, all of that we have to state in that application to become tsunami ready. Our district committee members, they are the ones that should be able to tell us. All right. Okay. So we are in touch with them. They are part of overall committee that is looking at the Tsunami Ready project. Right. So we have 3 district committees that we have as part of that control mechanism, as a part of that authority. We have Northwest St. George, we have the town of St. George, and we have South St. George. So the district coordinator for these 3 areas, the district coordinators for these 3 areas, they make up as part of the committee that governs the Tsunami Ready, that part and parcel of the Tsunami Ready.
Let me just interject here, because I just want to make sure you just dawn on me, for persons just joining the program late, that they may be hearing an emphasis on the tongue of St. George,
yes,
and the south of the island,
right,
and they might be thinking, well, what happens to the rest of the island?
Right. Now, again, we have had this done already. Right. We have had Carriacou, Petit Martinique, we have had St. Patrick. Okay, right. We are now focusing on St. George.
So
of course, yes, we're trying to make the rounds. All right, we should be maybe doing St. John's and St. Mark's at a different time. Okay, we might be doing Grenville at a different time, St. David's at a different time. But these are the areas that have not yet been done. But of course, consideration. But we have to take our time. One of the things too is that St. George, the parish of St. George, have a lot of our assets. Have a lot of a lot of our population is situated in St. George. If we take, for example, Northwest St. George, we have Grand Mall, and that whole fuel dump. Imagine if we do have a tsunami, what could happen to that whole fuel dump there? Right. All right? It's right on the beach. Right, so it is in a high-risk area, and of course, it creates some degree of vulnerability.
That's indeed a separate disaster.
That's a separate disaster.
By itself.
Because even after, if we have one of those tanks rupturing and so, you know exactly what's happening. And of course, it places Grenada in a problem because we won't be able to get fuel. We have fuel into the sea, and we have the issues of fishes and all of that. That's why we have to pay attention to the issues of tsunami. We must.
So that's a marine disaster by itself.
Yes.
Then you have an economic disaster because the lack of fuel and all of this stuff. But one of the things you'd have to agree, though, notwithstanding where you are, the planning process would be the same. Mm-hmm. The only thing that might be different, would be the muster points.
Yes.
So you would, wherever you are, keep in mind, as we said, know exactly where this where your muster points are. Mark them in your head.
Yes.
Where am I?
Yes.
Similar to how you mark out your during the hurricane. What are those sites? Those shelters.
Yes, your shelters and so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now we are going to the maps that you see. All right, there are more. There's one for the Grand Mall area. There's one for Grandance area. There's one for Point Saline. So you will see huge billboards being erected with the maps, and that is to allow persons to pay attention to it and be familiarized with the evacuation points, the evacuation routes, and the muster points, and have an idea of the inundation area, where that yellow thing that we see, have an idea of where that water goes and what building that is covered by that yellow marking that we have on the maps.
Is there a timeline involved? Let's assume, God forbid, that we do have to deal with the eventuality of, okay, let's never put it in people's head, that we're forced to go to our muster points. Let's kind of soften it up a bit.
Right.
So we're forced to go to our muster points.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a timeline involved? And who makes that? Is it the same district coordinators? So I get it to my muster point.
Right.
What do I do? How long do I wait?
When you are gathered at your muster point, you may not get persons coming there quickly in terms of authority. Correct. Because they might be involved in other areas of trying to save persons or trying to do things. We have to understand that this is, again, and I have to repeat it just for the emphasis, this is a quick onset hazard. Quick, all right? So in terms of response, it may not be as quick as you may anticipate it or you may want it, all right? But what we are saying is that persons remain there, all right, before they get any information. There might be a national, bulletin that says, okay, we have now gone through the worst of it. Persons, if you can, go here, there, or whatever, instructions will be given at a point.
But that movement, let's assume, even if you have to move, you're determined. That movement should be, if you haven't gotten the all clears yet,
yes.
What would you advise? You should be at any point that is away from the coast.
Of course. You want to be you want, first and foremost, you want to get to higher ground as quickly as possible. All right, as quickly as possible. That is why we have drills. Okay, we have drills, and for example, we had a drill in Tamsisi, and within 2-3 minutes, we had the first set of people, first wave of persons coming to the muster point up at Archibald Avenue.
Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Hello.
Yes. Good morning. You're alive.
Yes. I want you to explain to the general public, the listening and viewing public, what conditions the sea or the depth of the sea should be for a tsunami to be effective. Does the St. George's area have that depth of water in the lagoon area or just outside? Explain to your visitors and your listeners, because as far as we know, the sea must be of a certain depth for a tsunami to be effective. Otherwise, it's a waste of time giving all this information.
Thank you, caller.
Right. That is a very valid question. Now, if we look at the topography of our seabed surrounding the islands, you have a tapering off. right? A tapering off. If a tsunami crosses an open ocean, you would not get that energy that you would get closer to an island. Our island is not just, we don't just have a sheer drop off. Okay, so for example, you go out and you have a drop of a couple 100 feet of water. There is a tapering off. We have reef, we have flat seabed, and sometimes less than 100 feet or so. When we have that tsunami coming, what you can expect is that this shallow seabed, this shallow water surrounding our island causes the tsunami to have even more energy.
Right.
All right, and can certainly cause the waves to be stronger and causing more destruction. I think that's the point he's trying to make. Specifically in terms of how deep, I don't have that information. That's for the experts. But needless to say that when we look at our beaches, we sometimes our beaches would go a couple 100 feet out. That gradual depth go 100 feet out, and we can expect a build-up of energy when that wave approaches the island.
Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yes, good morning to both host and guests.
Good morning, sir.
The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities stipulates in Article 4 the general obligations of the state of the individual countries. Article 11 speaks to situations of risk and humanitarian emergencies. As a person with disabilities, I'm extremely concerned because I'm hearing this talk, very interesting by the way, and quite enlightening. But my question is, does your agency have established, written, in some form or other that people like me can read it, protocols as expected to be done according to the convention? Where can I find it? Thank you very much. And by the way, Mr. Pierre, this is Rollo. I'd appreciate some conversation with you ASAP. You can't find you otherwise. You know what I'm talking about there, but that's not what we're here for today. Do have a nice day. Will you, gentlemen?
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rollo. I will get in touch with you. I have promised to call you, and I will get in touch with you. We do have plans to deal with the issue of tsunamis. All right. Of course, these plans need to be revisited, and they do include what needs to be done for persons that are disabled, okay, and will need assistance to move, especially in low-lying areas. Okay, so there are plans. These plans are worked through our district coordinators. All right, given as long as early warning is given, okay, and those plans can come in place. We do have plans to be able to give assistance to persons that are disabled.
And let me add to the conversation before we do it quickly, that the information that's been disseminated here today, while it may, God forbid, it may not necessarily happen to Grenada, the information does not change. The need to know, you may be some other island, you may be some other part, other part of the world.
That's right.
Yes? So we would want to have a basic knowledge as to how to react in the eventuality. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Yes, I'm calling back because what Mr. Pierre is saying is contrary to what we know or what is known about tsunami. If a tsunami is approaching Grenada, in whatever port or whatever area, it all depends on the depth of the water. If the water is deep, close to the shore, I'm saying that again, close to the shore, it may not have any effect, because by the time it gets to the shore, it will die down and it will only reach a certain area. If the water is shallow, away from the shore, that's even better yet. The tsunami will not have no effect on the land. It will just barely die down. So what we need is a deep water section close to the shore to cause any effect when a tsunami occurs. I mean, he can go up and find out, read up and find out about this thing. This is exactly how this thing happens. If the water is deep, close to the shore, That's why I mentioned to him, what is the depth of the lagoon area, for example, in the port here? If it is very deep enough, fine, the tsunami will be able to take up all that water and throw it on the shore. If it is shallow, it doesn't have enough water to take up to throw in. Over.
Okay, sir.
Well, from my understanding, right, is that you, and again, maybe if we could have gotten a video, a pictorial, something to understand the depth of the shore. Water basically is rolling over water, trying to get, and the shallower it is the more intense it would be. The deeper it is the less intense it would be. Okay, it's a situation where you have a body of water rising as it hits shallow ground and is rolling over.
Or maybe let's put it this way. And while I understand the argument, but that would be a conversation for the experts.
Yes, for the experts.
To work out
yes.
What we attempted to do today, whether the lagoon or Grandin's Beach is or isn't. What we attempted to do is to keep people in the know as to, because nobody's going to remember whether or not the lagoon is or isn't. I mean that would be for the technocrats.
You get an alarm that there is a tsunami.
Right.
What we are asking persons to do is to move to higher ground. And to evacuate. We don't know what is going to happen. We can't sit down and guess how deep the water is and whether I am right or you are wrong and I am right. What we are saying is that if we have a situation of a tsunami and a threat of a tsunami, what we need to do is to safeguard ourselves by just following a simple step of getting to higher ground and overcoming the issues.
And it's interesting, years ago, remember in the Palmas area, as a little boy going up to that area, there was at least one or two occasions when it was a bit alarming when we saw the sea receding. And you were like, okay. And I remember, as little boys, you're up there, when you get an opportunity to walk out.
Right.
And I remember the scenes, I guess they may not know the details of it, but they would call you back for fear that, listen. So I think what is important that, for the purpose, our purpose is to educate you that it may not happen, as we said, in Grenada.
Yeah.
It may not. Thank God for that. But let's say you travel to another because we practice regional travel and all of this other stuff.
The world has become very small. So.
Very, 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 very small. We running out of time though. 10 minutes onto the hour in the morning time. And certainly, if you feel free to call in to give your information, or you can submit it via our WhatsApp page. Actually, we have a caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, caller. You are live. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Hello. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I have a question. What about, has special consideration been given regarding the General Hospital and the special population there?
Yes. That's a very good question. Actually, the hospital is placed on a hill, all right, and it is from what we have calculated. They may not necessarily be. It may not necessarily be affected by a tsunami. If you look at that map again, you realize that there is inundation of water around the hospital, but not necessarily on the hospital. However, regardless of where the inundation of water is, the entire island will be affected. All right. So you may, for example, if you have an emergency, let's say somewhere in Willis, which is really, really above ground, and you want to get to the hospital during the situation of a tsunami, there might be problems. All right. But there are considerations, and we have had conversations with the police. We have had conversations with a number of the other stakeholders. So the issue of the hospital is certainly a critical thing. I don't think that we have had much discussion on that in terms of response, but certainly it's something that we have to look at.
Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning, guys. Just two quick questions. How is technology being leveraged to improve tsunami prediction and monitoring? And are there any advancements in tsunami research that shows promise for future prevention and safety? And also, well, third question, how do we as locals recognize the beginning of a tsunami as opposed to a very low tide? Thank you.
Right.
No, that's where the conversation is at.
Right. So that's for the technical people, but I will try to answer your question as much as possible. One of the things that we have done, and it is part of the project as well, we depend on the International Oceanic Commission to give us information. All right, they monitor ocean waves, they monitor earthquakes, and all of that, marine volcanoes across the globe. So they are the ones that would have information. We have our seismic research center in Trinidad and Tobago. We have monitors, for example, on Kikamjini, Mount St. Catherine, for issues of volcano right here in Grenada. Okay, and there is always that checking of these monitors to ensure that there isn't a problem. So when we do get information, we have radios. One part of the project was the provision of digitally truncated radio system that basically connects all emergency responders. So, for example, the police, the hospital, our utility companies, and so NAWASA, we are able to connect with all of these individuals via radio, a radio system. Okay, so we can send messages, we can communicate. We have some information that we can get from Met Office through a lot of our international partners to alert us. Now, we do not have, and I'm going to say what we have, and I've just said that, but we do not have some of the more modern technology. You know, for example, Japan, they have buoys out in the ocean, and that would recognize the change of vibrations coming out from the sea floor, and they are able to predict early what can happen, in terms of tsunami. We don't have that. These are very, very expensive and very, very sophisticated machineries and equipment. They have, for example, an alarm system. So when there is a change, if there's a rapid change in tide, a rapid change in the movement of water, they are able now to sound alarm because they are basically saying that it might just be a tsunami coming. With the tidal changes, the tidal change sometimes happen gradually. It's not something that is quick. It's not something that is fast. It's a gradual thing. And of course, tides are controlled by the movement of the moon, the pull of water, the pull of gravity from the moon, etc., etc. So it's a whole study, and that in a nutshell is basically what it is.
But I think what is important as we wrap, though, that each and every one of us as Grenadians, we put ourselves in a position to be informed.
Yes.
Yeah, and put ourselves in a position where, in the eventuality that we have enough information as to what to do, that we can help, if not ourselves, not our families, but somebody else. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, Arthur.
All I'm saying is that first and foremost, we need to maybe do some more reading. All right, we have a lot of information on tsunamis. We are, again, as I said in the beginning, we are islands. We are surrounded by water, and whatever affects the ocean, whatever happens beneath the ocean, whether it's an earthquake, a volcano, a sliding of a massive piece of land, it can affect our shores and it can affect us. We need to just be ready. The objective of the Tsunami Ready project is just to bring to the fore the issues that tsunami can affect us, and we have to prepare ourselves, get ourselves ready, know exactly where your muster points are, where your routes are, assist our community in really and truly getting the message across, about the issues of tsunami. There's a lot of information online, a lot of information all over the place that you can read and understand and know exactly how to protect yourself.
And what is most important, as we see footage here, and that's from a story from quite some time.
Yes.
You see how young Eugenia is, eh?
Yes. That's
little baby Eugenia.
I think that might have been St. Patrick's or so,
right?
When we had that.
And that's what's important, that our young people, they understand and they grew up with a culture
That's
I think that's what's important.
That's right.
There needs to be a shift in culture that allows for us to be proactive in terms of responding to not just hurricanes, but natural disasters on a whole. What to do, how do I recognize it, what do I do before, during, and after a natural disaster? Those are questions that each and every one of us needs to know. And certainly here at the GBN, we continue to facilitate NaDMA, and certainly there are experts that will deal with some of the other issues. The experts are going to deal with the topography and all of that. But for certainly the general public, you need to know, if we get an alert, where is my muster point?
Yes.
Here am I what to do. I'm a GBN, we're at an elevated point. Stay put. But if you want to come with a carnage in front by old cable and wireless building, what should you do? You're in Grandans Beach, you're in the Sates Bay, you're somewhere on the West Coast and it happens. What should you do? And I think that's what is critically important, that we keep ourselves in the know. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
Indeed, it was a pleasure being here with you folks. It's 2 minutes before we get in, before 10 o'clock. This is where I officially say goodbye to you for today. Indeed, it was a pleasure, and I want to continue to remind you and encourage you that a family plan is critically important. Remember, a family plan does not necessarily refer just to the individuals within your immediate household, but within the environment. What do we do? Because you'd agree that your personal family plan may work just as good as the other person next door. That's why you want everybody to be on the same page and in the know. Until then, so long, everybody. Have yourself a great weekend.
Okay.